Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on your time zone. My name's Michael Rodriguez. I'm a content and scholarly communication strategist at Lyrasis. And on behalf of Lyrasis, I just want to welcome you all to this webinar on Social Explorer, which is a program for data visualization and mapping research. Jeff and Amelia are also with us today. They are from Social Explorer. And they will spend the next half hour introducing the program to us, sharing how it can be used in the context of college level research and education and so on. We will be recording the webinar and sharing that link out with you all. I also wanted to mention that everyone who registered for this webinar is offered a free institutional trial of Social Explorer basically from now until June 2023, if you so desire, as well as an additional 5% off the list price of Social Explorer on top of your member discount that you get to us through Lyrasis if you choose to subscribe by mid-April of 2023. So those are just some incentives that our colleagues at Social Explorer wanted to extend to today's attendees. And I'll share a link to learn more about that offer and request a quote, etc., in the chat. But now I'll hand things over to Jeff and Amelia to introduce themselves and take it away.
Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you helping us set this up. It really is appreciated. It's been a very nice relationship that we've had with Lyrasis over the last 6, 7, 8 years, and we really appreciate it. It's very important to us. So today with me, I have Amelia Marcantonio Field. She worked with Social Explorer's academic clients. You know, she was a post-baccalaureate fellow at Barnard College Library, and she staffed their empirical reasoning center. And she used Social Explorer, and she taught using Social Explorer, and she supported librarians and students with the tool as well. And right now she is studying for her master's in city planning at the University of Pennsylvania. She's a great asset to our company. And I'm the editorial director for Social Explorer, and I've worked for the past 30 years building curriculum for the social sciences, business, history, and public health. So Social Explorer is a leader in the data visualization and data acquisition space, and we've been in business for over 15 years, and we're currently used in over 450 academic libraries, as well as counties and government organizations, nonprofits. We offer our clients a suite of online tools and data that allows users to visually explore millions of data points, and we'll show you that as we move forward. Over the past 4 years, we've also added teach and learn content that supports OER, or more like zero text cost options for undergraduate education, and Amelia will show you those as well. But our goal is, you know, once the library has access to this, everyone on campus has access to this, and it works as a zero text cost option for students. We're easy to use. We allow users to visually analyze and understand socioeconomic data at the neighborhood level. We have over 250,000 data indicators visualized as maps at many geographic levels. And again, Amelia will show you that in a moment. So we have all of the US Census data, American Community Survey data, election data, population estimates, FBI crime reports, voting age population data, health data, business patterns data. And we're the first company in the world to create an online mapping tool using this type of vector-based tiles. So everything renders in the browser. Nothing is stored on your computers at your institutions. Everything is in the cloud. And it renders very quickly, and we'll show you that as well. So today, brief walkthrough of Social Explorer. Then we'll look at 3 case studies: the teach and learn modules and how to use those, Social Explorer in the classroom, and Social Explorer for research. And just to quickly show you, before turning it over to Amelia, this is what the product looks like when you log in. From here, You can view our data dictionary. It has all of our data sources within the product listed. If I go to explore, you can explore maps. Well, what I want to show you from here is that you can look at data by year. We go all the way back to 1790 in the first census, and then by category down below here. And it's really a very intuitive way for students to interact with the data. Also, we have a LibGuide that we built out. From this LibGuide, it's broken down by discipline. This helps support you, helps support instructors who are interested in using the product. There's all kinds of information on how to log in and so forth. And then before I turn it over to Amelia, I just wanted to also show that everything that's in our system can also be exported as tabular data as well. And I don't know if Amelia is going to get into that or not, but anything can be exported out from our system into reports.
I'll show one of those, Jeff.
Okay, then I'll stop. Good. So with that, I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to turn it over to Amelia, who's going to walk you through the rest of the presentation.
Sounds so great. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry to steal your thunder.
No, please do.
We both get really excited about Social Explorer and we want to show everything. So I'm just closing a few extra windows on my tab. Hold on, so I can see. Sorry about that. So as Jeff mentioned, when he shared his screen, he showed the main page of Social Explorer. And just another note, Jeff did a wonderful introduction, but I always like to share this one message about this main page, which is that I find that Social Explorer really guides you towards making maps. Of course, that's not what everything on the platform you can do is. Jeff sort of described that it's both this hybrid data visualization and database platform. So you can also download out all of the data. And I'm going to show that in just a moment as well, an example of one of those. But I always like to share that the tool and the visualizations are sort of based in geographic information systems or geographic information science, which is what GIS is called. And that's just the science of making maps. And sometimes GIS can have a really steep learning curve. So I really have enjoyed getting to know Social Explorer and getting to do trainings over the year because it allows students or researchers or faculty instructors to sort of meet them where they are. Social Explorer lets that happen and really gets to teach people either the basics of mapping. That being said, I also always like to share that Social Explorer is a really scalable tool. So even people who might have a background in GIS can always come onto the platform and have some meaningful insights, whether that's just using it as a database and grabbing all their data or doing some sort of exploratory analysis before they might move into a different software. So I just wanted to mention that. And so as Jeff mentioned, we're not going to be doing sort of a traditional training today, but we do offer traditional trainings if that is something that you want after this session today, and then sort of talks about potentially, securing a license with us. I'm going to focus on sort of 3 academic uses of the platform. The first will be our teach and learn modules. The second will be examples of how Social Explorer has been used in the classroom. And then the third will be focused on some academic research that was just published by some professors using Social Explorer, which is really cool. So using sort of the first use case, that would be our teach and learn modules. Our teach and learn modules were made a few years ago as sort of the hallmark of our academic content. And we have 3 different types. I'm going to walk through all of them, but they have all been made using a tool that we offer on our platform called a story tool. And our story tool essentially is a series of interactive maps with a narrative alongside of it. And I'll show you an example so that you can see, what a really good story looks like. But just to walk through our 3 different types, we have our lecture launchers. These are going to be content-based teach and learn modules made by professors or researchers in their field using our data and making some sort of argument with our data. And they're broken up into different fields that we think our data best fits into, which aligns with the LibGuide that Jeff had showed earlier. So we have data that relates to business, criminal justice, US history, obviously with data going back to 1790 and more. Another one of our teach and learn modules, and I won't spend as much time on the last 2, but we do offer training modules in our platform. So we have a robust support network here at Social Explorer. You are always more than welcome to hop on a call and have a training with someone. But if you did want to get to know the platform on your own, you can always take a look at these training modules. And then we also have data snacks. These are going to be standalone, single interactive maps that sort of just get the conversation going. We put these a lot on our social media, but some of them are really cool. And I always recommend to professors, what if you start a class and every class is a new data snack and you just take a look at one interactive map. But circling back to our lecture launchers, which is what I want to focus on, I'm going to show a really great example that we have, which is under the political science category. And in honor of it being almost election day, it's going to be this example on gerrymandering. And then once I pull it up, I'm going to spend a few moments doing orientation. So again, this is a teach and learn module. These are, materials that we produce for people to use in the classroom. But this is also made using our story tool. So this is something that if either a faculty member, an instructor, or a student just wanted to make, or say a faculty member assigned a student to make this as a final project, this is also well within the wheelhouse of anyone making anything on Social Explorer. And I just want to direct everyone's attention to this top ribbon briefly, where there's a few tools. The first is a share button. I just wanted to mention that you can share anything that you make on Social Explorer, even with people who don't have a license with Social Explorer, and they'll be able to access it. They just can't do any of the back-end editing. So they're able to access as a link, as an embed code, or an email. You can also, as Jeff mentioned before, you can download anything off of the platform. So in the case of data, that would look like a CSV or an Excel, but in the case of a visualization, that would look more like a PowerPoint. So you can download this off as a PowerPoint. And then one of my favorite things about the Teach and Learn modules is that you can save them to your own account and edit them as you see fit. So if you wanted to make some adjustments, for an example, you'll see in just a few moments that this module was made a few years ago. So some of the data that's used has been in past elections. You could always update that and make it, maybe more relevant to your course. So I'm just going to press start in this landing slide and get into it. So you'll notice, again, this is made using our story tool. So it's going to be your biggest part of your screen is going to be a big interactive map that you can hover over and you can get the rates from. In this case, it's being visualized by county. And then on the left-hand side is going to be a narrative. So in this case, this researcher was making this Teach and Learn module to talk about gerrymandering, but started their slide as sort of a context slide of how population density has changed over 100 years. So from the census in 1900 to the census in 2000. And then it works as a slide deck. So you can advance to the next slide. I think this is a fascinating data set that we offer, and I'm actually going to show an example of it being used again as a use case, but this is a data set on election competitiveness. So the percentage difference between the two candidates. And the author here is prompting the audience to look at, polarization across our country. And then the last slide of this Teach and Learn module takes a case study approach and looks at the state of Illinois and North Carolina as states that have undergone gerrymandering. And it's really, I think that this is one of the coolest things that you can see, the different geographies and actually look at what this looks like spatially on a map. So that is our first academic use case. I just wanted to pause for a moment and see if there were any questions. Okay, doesn't seem like there's any questions. And I know that we only have a short amount of time together, so I'm going to keep moving to our second use case. But if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt at any point in time. So our second use case that I want to talk about is supporting the classroom with Social Explorer. So if you were to be a subscriber of Social Explorer, we offer, as I said, a robust support network, including trainings via Zoom, but we also offer the ability for someone to come and interact with your class directly and to interact with students. So I have personally gone into many classes over the past 2 years that I've been with Social Explorer. I've gone into classes that have ranged from very technical classes like GIS classes where the professor wants to just show them a different tool to make maps, but I've also gone into more introductory classes on research methods or data analysis or understanding the census. And just as sort of like some more insight, most of what I focus on when I do go into classes is teaching either visualization of the census and sort of why the census is important and what it is, or overlapping census data with another type of data. So I did one class that solely focused on FBI crime data. And usually the class sessions are framed around making some sort of output with the students, whether that be a map or a table. So I have two different examples that I wanted to show today that model actually a class that I taught 2 days ago. And so the first is this one Philadelphia map. And this is exactly what I made with students. And so pulling it up and students, I was with students for about 40 minutes. And by the end of the 40 minutes, they're able to do something like this, which I think is really cool. I'm just going to minimize the legend so that we can see the visualizations a bit better. But in this case, we can see sort of how interactive Social Explorer can be. And we have a map over here on our left-hand side of population 25 years or older with a bachelor's degree or higher. So looking at people with higher education compared to a map over here on our left-hand side is a bachelor's degree or higher, and our right-hand side is median household income. So over this course of like the 40 or so minutes when I was working with the students, I not only showed them how to make a map themselves, but we also got to have some really interesting conversations about patterns that they see in this map. Obviously, you have to do some more research before you can make some sort of conclusion, but I'm from Philadelphia, so I know a bit. And you can see from this map that there definitely is a bit of just sort of segregation between people with bachelor's degree or higher and median household income across the city, and that these maps mirror each other pretty nicely. So it looks like median household income follows the pattern of higher education and also maybe vice versa. So that's one of the focuses of a session that you can have with Social Explorer in the classroom. And then another sort of output that can be made is, Jeff mentioned before, you can download everything off of the platform in an Excel or a CSV format and do some continued research. So I've also done sessions where I've have solely focused on that downloading process. So I'm just showing an example of, this is what one of the tables, actually a table that exactly mirrors the map that I just showed, would look like if you were to download it off of the platform. So we're just looking at census tracts in Philadelphia, highest educational of population 25 years or older, and then median household income. And you can download this as an Excel or a CSV. Are there any questions as of now about how to use Social Explorer?
But it's a great example, Amelia, of how at the undergraduate level in intro psych, American government, public health, especially the introductory public health for nursing, that faculty can integrate big data sets into the course to show how social science is not opinion. Social science is a science based on large data sets. And, once they get an understanding of that, their minds open up, and it's just amazing where they go with it. Once they have an understanding of how to use the platform, they can really visualize all types of issues, social issues, political issues, structural issues, and so forth.
Jeff, I think that that's a wonderful point, and I think it's a great segue into the next use case that I want to show, which is I graduated from undergrad a bit ago, not too long, but I think one of my biggest realizations was, my first 2 years of undergrad, I was doing a lot of reading and sort of thinking, and then finally in my last few years, I was in a social science field, and then all of a sudden I was using data, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And so I think that Social Explorer is a really great introduction for how to move from, some of these concepts that students are just reading about to actually seeing what they look like using data analysis. And to show that as sort of the segue, we had some researchers from West Texas A&M who are subscribers of Social Explorer recently do a really interesting research project, and it's published at this point, using data from Social Explorer. I'm going to try my best to do it justice and explain the project that they did, but I hope everyone here understands that I'm not one of these researchers. But essentially, a professor and then a researcher were interested in looking at sort of the relationship between pandemic shutdowns and religious institutions in Texas. And in the fall of 2020, apparently Texas held a vote that sort of said, and it passed, that that the government was not able to limit religious organizing or any sort of religious events. And this is all under the context of COVID. And so what the researchers wanted to do was to sort of uncover if there were any sort of relationships between demographic data and look at voter data of who might have supported, they called it Proposition 3, was this like banning of the government able to stop religious organizing. So they looked at data that included religious affiliation, sort of this definition of whether people lived in a urban or rural area, their political party, and demographics. A lot of the political information and the demographics was actually taken from Social Explorer. They did some regression analysis. So they pulled data from Social Explorer and put it into a different software that could do regression analysis, but they also made some really interesting visualizations using Social Explorer, which I'll share right now. This one visualization, they were looking at the relationship between the 2020 presidential elections, using that same data set that I introduced before, so election competitiveness. So they were looking at the relationship between that with greatest support for this Proposition 3 and who they voted for in the 2020 election. And then they also did a great visualization. They pulled in some of their own data that they had made of support for Prop 3, which is what this little percentage is, overlaid on this election competitive map. So if we just like zoomed into a certain area, just looking at the scale, the lightest yellow in this map is a more Democratic leaning vote for a county, and the darker is a more Republican vote for the county, and then they could see sort of the relationship between the support for this amendment to the Texas Constitution. And it resulted in some really interesting, statistically significant analysis that they had done. And so that rounds out our third use case of using Social Explorer for academic research. Jeff, I want to hand it over to you to see if there's anything that I might have missed, but I also want to hear from everyone to see if anyone has any lingering questions on Social Explorer.
Thank you, Amelia. That was great. Just to let everybody know, if you start a trial, we do extensive training. Amelia does that. We run 8 or so trainings a week. They last about an hour. We can get you up to speed. We also do trainings with faculty, with students. And so we're here to support you, once you're in trial. And so this was sort of an overview of the types of things you can do with Social Explorer, but not a training. So if and when you move forward, and we can set up training for your faculty and staff. Any questions for us at this point? Yes, we have flooding data included. It's on what we call a layer. It's a layer that you can put on top of the maps that we have. So yes, we have flood data in the system. Oh, you're welcome.
It's a great question. There's a ton of data that's available on the platform. And then, as I mentioned briefly, like the researchers who did this academic research also uploaded their own data, which is something that you can also do on the platform too. So there's no limit to the amount of data that you can explore on Social Explorer.
Well, thank you, everyone. Michael, thank you so much. What a great turnout.
Thanks, Jeff and Amelia. It looks like we have one question about data sources and where those are coming from.
So we have a significant amount of business data that comes from EASI. They go by Easy Data. We also have FBI crime data. We have data sets in public health as well. So we have a significant amount of data apart from the census. And also we have the American Community Survey data, which is the old census long form. So if you go in the Social Explorer and look under data sets, all of our data sets will be listed there, and it's significant. And what's nice about the census data and the ACS data, one of our big clients is the Census Bureau. We give them back their data in a more usable format for them to use in other ways. So what's nice is, while the census offers their data, it's very difficult to work with. We make it much easier to visualize and to work with the data. Anything else?
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to come. Definitely, if you have any questions, feel free to send them to myself. I can pass them on to Jeff. We'll be sharing the link to the recording in the next day or two. And certainly, if you want to request a quote or get that free trial set up, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Member support at lyrasis.org, or you can go to the website whose link I just popped into chat.
And somebody asked about reporting. We're Counter 5 compliant. We worked with Counter to develop tools to be able to actually track usage for a product like ours, since we're not a database of articles and how many eyeballs read the article. We're different than that. So, but we are Counter 5 compliant, and we're also extensively ADA compliant.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that question, Jeff. And yeah, keep them coming, folks. I'm here for you to pass along any questions, and I can put you in touch directly with Jeff and Amelia as well as needed. So thanks very much. I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.